Hiyo, it's me, Io, the popcorn philosopher. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, fellow alien and fellow philosopher. It's me. Okay, yeah, well. Welcome to day 13 of the Kate Bush Deep Dive. Coincidentally, this is about Kate Bush's adventure in Japan, which was exactly 13 days long. Serendipity indeed. And this video is going to be about a very specific time in Kate Bush's life when her record company sent her to Japan to promote the Kick Inside. I got the idea for this video because of a comment from Doom Ranger. They're a Ranger of Doom, you know. But they said I should check out these ads that Kate Bush made in 1978 for Seiko watches. And it sent me down this Kate Bush rabbit hole, not unlike the one that I went on when I checked out the title track for the Kick Inside and went on that journey. But this time I researched the information and saved it without looking at it so that we can look at it together. So let's look at all the nooks and crannies of the internet to see what it has to say about Kate Bush's adventure in Japan. Crannies. Such a weird word. What is a cranny anyway? Crannies. You better stay away from my crannies. Let's just get started. I just found it so interesting that Kate Bush was this young, rather unknown artist who their label was just trying to send them to Japan to prove herself to a Japanese market. And it seems so crazy, as accomplished as she is today, that that's where she was back in June of 1978. And what we know about artists like Britney Spears, I feel like this trip of Kate's was very telling about what record labels expect of artists, how they overwork artists and don't really take into account the long range of an artist's career, both for their careers and for their mental health. Hello, past me. It's Io from the future. I only look about a few hours older, don't I? Yeah, so one thing I wanted to say, I've already filmed the video, and I have to wonder, was this the beginning of why Kate Bush doesn't tour? We'll talk about it as we go along. But I just wanted to say, keep that in mind as we go along. But I'm sure going in, Kate was super excited to go to Tokyo. The first thing I looked at was this interview that Kate did right before she went on her trip. So we're gonna look at this interview.
With all the success you've had?
Well, it's been amazing. I think that's the main thing that I found. Not really that difficult because it's something that I really enjoy doing. I mean, there are obviously pressures and things, but
I'm sure
it's really good that I'm in the position to be able to go through all these things.
A lot of your album sleeve, one would think that
was that the album
has got an
sleeve?
influence on you. Do you think when you go to Japan you'll be able to write there?
They just panned in on that.
I'm sure I'll get a lot of inspiration from the place because I just find it fascinating. I mean, like all their forms of art, they're very into simplicity and beauty in its natural way. And they have complete ceremonies about so many things. And I just find it beautiful. It's such an incredible culture. Very disciplined as well.
What has influenced you most musically?
I think a lot of people, I think probably I'd like to think my heroes have, who are basically people like Brian Ferry and David Bowie, very much so. I think he's brilliant. And people like Steely Dan.
Oh, Steely Dan.
So many people to admire, you can't list them.
I could see that with the key changes and the time signature changes. Well, and also Pink Floyd too. Yeah, you could definitely see that Kate Bush coming over. She had a real respect for Japan. And from the podcast, I learned that her brother and her father also had an appreciation for Japan and its culture. And that probably definitely rubbed off on Kate. Wait, let's talk about the Japanese music market around the time that Kate Bush made this journey. Japan was then and is now the second largest music market in the world, which I found so crazy. I thought the UK would be number 2 at least. America is still the largest though, but Japan is the largest physical media market in the world. They still listen to CDs and vinyl and physical forms of music, which is so great and interesting because of how technologically advanced Japan is. that still 85% of Japanese people still listen to physical media, which I think is so great because as a kid, I used to love when people collected vinyl and I could go through their vinyl collection. I mean, there's just something so magical, and you still get like this great artistic expression from looking at different artists, like music, like interpretation visually. Although I still really liked looking at people's iTunes library too, but somehow it's more fun that way. And if you're one of those people who likes Tower Records and Mrs. Tower Records, they still exist in Japan. Like, it's a major company in Japan. Although I guess it shouldn't come as that much of a surprise because a lot of audiophiles prefer physical media like records and CDs. On the other hand, in terms of Kate Bush's music, The Kick Inside had been released, although it did look very different. It looked like this. I guess a lot of the records have this little paper thing on the side that shows about the release. I think that's really great too. But listening to some of what was going on musically in Japan, there was a common thread there, I think. Just like a certain plaintiveness to some of it.
雪を跳ねて猫や何が顔を出します。もうすぐ春ですね。ちょっと気取ってみませんか。嫌だわ。男ならここで夢の一手だけど、女にはそんなことはできはしない。
But also an open-mindedness to quirkiness and wackiness, you know, like wiki wacky, wiki wookie wookie woo, wiki way, wicka wong, wicka 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 wong wong, wicka. Oh. You see that too, don't you? Good. I thought I was going crazy. Anyway. Day one of Kate Bush's journey. Kate arrived at Tokyo Airport at 5:55 p.m. on Japan Airlines flight JAL 005, coming in from Toronto via New York. And she was taken to her hotel, which was the Tokyo Prince Hotel. Let's take a look at what that looks like. I'm curious what the hotel looks like. Oh, wow. Wow, you know, it really does still have a vintage look even today. It is still around. Let's look at their official website. Let's look at the rooms. I'm sure they're very different than they were back then. Oh yeah, they're so pretty. Even though they've obviously been remodeled, there's still a very vintage look to it. I love these lobby photos. So chic. Beautiful chandeliers. Yeah, I love the way this is decorated. I tried to look up 1978, but I couldn't find any pictures of the way it looked back then, unfortunately. I don't think the outside's changed very much because it has kind of a mid-century kind of look to it. Okay, so day 2. In the morning, she had a music magazine photo shoot, and I had just looked up the cover. I couldn't really find anything else but the cover, but she looks really pretty here. A little sassy, like she's looking at you like, yeah, what, and I love that. But from 1 to 4 in the afternoon, there was orientation for the song contest, just kind of briefing her on what was going to happen.
Kate herself is 6,000 miles away, trying to make her name and her fortune in one of the biggest pop markets in the world, Japan. Some British groups have already made it big there, and now Kate Bush is having a go. She's making her debut in Japan at one of the world's biggest song contests in Tokyo. Bob Friend, the BBC News correspondent in Japan, has sent us this report.
British pop star Kate Bush,
I guess
first
it's a look at
appearance
things to
before
come,
a major
right?
live audience in a country where they don't speak her language. The Japanese pop market, one of the biggest in the world, is a tough one. But if, as her record company hopes, Kate
think it
does
was
become
really
popular
tough?
here, then the rewards will have made the hard work and the tension all worthwhile.
From 5 to 7 that evening, she was at a record company meeting where they were planning and plotting and stratagems. Amelie, a girl after my own heart. I love stratagems too. And that night she had dinner in Roppongi, which is a district in Tokyo, and is apparently famous for the Roppongi development as well as nightclubs. Let's look at some pictures of Roppongi. Oh, I spelled it wrong. I was really off. There's a lot of letters I don't know to my English ears why they're there. But wow, this looks really cool. I love this. Looks like a lot happens there. Definitely looks like a lot of hubbub. But it looks like a fun place to have dinner for sure. Okay, it's day 3 of Kate's Japan adventure, and she had a morning full of interviews, just chock full of interviews. Specifically at 10:30 to 11:30, she had a PR interview with Michiko Watanabe? Oh, Michiko Watanabe. I think that's how you say it. At 10:30 to 11:30, Kate had a PR interview with Michiko Watanabe, who is a Japanese singer, and she was also having her debut album come out. Let's look up, see if there's any pictures that exist here. Oh wow, they look like girlfriends. They look like they could be girlfriends. They look like they're having a lot of fun. It's kind of interesting that they only met each other for an hour. They look like good Judies after an hour, after only an hour. I guess they had a lot in common, the fact that they were both debuting records. And I think they talked a lot about that. Michiko brought up the topic of the fact that Kate was wearing a kimono on her debut album. And Kate had asked her why she didn't see more Japanese wearing kimonos around. And Michiko said that she actually liked kimonos, but that she found Western dress a lot easier to get around in. So I guess it was maybe around that time when things started to change from a dress perspective. And this would also go in the music issue that we just saw the cover of. From 12:30 to 1:30, she did an interview with Rocking On magazine. And then she did a bunch of various interviews with different Japanese press over the course of the day. It was just a day of interviews, basically. Okay, so day 4. On day 4, Kate took a bus to Kamakura, Japan. She went to the Maigetsuin Temple, which wasn't very far from her hotel. It's also known as the Hydrangea Temple.
Thank you. I absolutely love hydrangeas.
Well, I love hydrangeas. And so does Kate, according to this picture I'm looking at. And Madonna, I love you. You will always be my queen, but leave hydrangeas alone. And a little graciousness never hurt anyone. And Kate loves them too. According to this photo, wow, she looks so pretty. Wow, she looks gorgeous. And there's another photo too I wish I could see. According to the podcast, there's a photo with her in a t-shirt, which I can't seem to find that anywhere. But this was a day off. I'm now looking at a walk through the Hydrangea Temple. Wow, it's so gorgeous. Oh my god, so pretty. And wonderful weather too. She was having good weather too because it was June, I'm sure. Although to be honest with you, I'm more of a rain kind of girl. I mean, my first name really is Rain, actually. My middle name is Io, but we'll keep that between us, okay? But today was a day off. Oh my god, so pretty. Yeah, today was a day off for her. Even though she was being followed around by Bob Friend of FM Magazine, who is now apparently a newscaster or some kind of correspondent on the Sky Network in the UK. But she was being followed around, and they were taking pictures. And I think there's some video of that, which we could take a look at. But the fact that this was her day off, this overworking kind of reminds me of pop stars like Britney Spears. We will hear later how they work pop stars like workhorses, and it seems like that's what they were kind of doing with this Japan trip. They were kind of just really scheduling her in. Although this is nice work if you can get it. I mean, look how beautiful it is. Jeez. This kind of reminds me of a place they have in San Francisco that I went to. I'm sure it was probably kind of modeled after places like this.
With a very tight
Oh, wow, she
schedule
looks
before
so
the contest
pretty.
itself, Kate had very few moments to relax. As a newcomer to Japan, she was anxious to learn at least something about its ancient culture. It can be a very confusing country. One of the obvious problems faced by British business, and that includes the record industry, is of course the language. The guide who took us around this Shinto shrine
I'm sure that
knew
probably was
that
a real
Kate was
problem,
anxious to
right?
find out about his country's traditions, and made certain she did everything properly.
Oh, so she had like someone to help her with that?
But the break was all too brief.
I just have a feeling that maybe confusion about the language and the customs, this might have been a big deal to Kate. She's relying on people from her record company to book her into opportunities, and some of these people might have their own agenda. It's so important for an artist to keep an eye on the overall vision, and this can be so stressful to keep an eye on in a country where you don't know the language, and even people with good intentions won't know what her vision is, and she might not know anything's wrong until the last minute.
Even though there were a lot of people who were probably maybe didn't have Kate's best interest at heart in terms of overworking her, there were people who were in her corner, namely someone named Hillary Walker. Seems like she was kind of like maybe A&R person, I'm not sure, but she was from EMI, and she oversaw this whole trip, this whole Japan trip. Kate would thank her in the liner notes of pretty much every album, and she was at a lot of events, a lot of events that honored Kate later on in the future. Wow, these are really cool pictures. I love these pictures of her. I wonder how this would go over today, you know? I mean, I think she was encouraged to wear a kimono. I forget the name of the day kimono. I'll put it up here though. But she was encouraged to wear that during some of the photo shoots. It's funny how things change today. Today it would be considered cultural appropriation, but I don't know. I don't really believe in that a lot. I think if you're doing it from a place of honoring a culture, that's usually how I feel about it. I had an older friend when I was younger. Her name was Toshi, and she gave me a lot of her dresses from when she was young back in the 1960s. A lot of them were traditional Japanese, gorgeous satin dresses, kimonos. Oh God, they were so beautiful. The traditional high collar dresses too. She gave them to me because she couldn't fit in them anymore, and she knew that I could fit in them. So, and I did. They fit me perfectly. They fit me like a glove, and I loved them so much. But I probably couldn't wear them anymore, sadly. Day 5 was another day of interviews, chock full of interviews with the Japanese media. I'm not really sure which ones. I couldn't really find them anywhere else. In the evening, she did a sound check for the song contest, but there was a little something in a report, so let's take a look at that.
It was back to the real reason for her visit, the Japanese song contest. For instance, she had to adjust to her Japanese backing group. Then there were problems with the microphone. Kate moves around so much, she can't get used to an ordinary one.
A minor thing like that could be really hard, is going from one mic to another. When we're looking at an artist, we're seeing like the very tippy tip of an artist's career. We're not seeing all the like trials and tribulations that artists have to go through in order to get to that one performance that you see or that piece of music that you're listening to. And a thing like a microphone can be a really big deal, actually.
As this was Kate's first visit to Japan, she had to spend much of her time selling herself to the Japanese, and that, of course, involved endless interviews with local reporters.
Another thing is, we don't know, maybe Kate arrived in Tokyo, she was super hungry and couldn't find anything that she could eat, she was tired, and now she has to go do interviews or whatever she has to do, or whatever the record label is asking her for her to do. And she's jet lagged, hungry. I mean, I'm speculating. I'm just giving a for instance, of course, but it's just interesting how we don't see any of that. We're only seeing these very small little pieces of what an artist puts out. Okay, day 6. So this was the big day, the day of the song contest. She had been working really hard in the interim with doing choreography for the song contest. This might have been the first time she performed moving live on like a TV type of thing. So I kind of thought it was odd that Kate Bush would enter a song contest. Somehow, I don't know, it doesn't like seem to go in with what I think of entering. I don't know, it doesn't somehow seem to fit my idea of her. I don't know why, but what are concepts? What are ideas? What is life?
Oh man, she was a hip lady, man.
I don't know, I guess ABBA did break through in a song contest. What is that song contest? I never can remember the name of it. I always want to say Panavision, but it's not Panavision. What is the name of it? Oh, it's gonna kill me. Television? Not television. It's not called. It's something vision. It's this. You guys are probably screaming it out the screen. But yeah, ABBA broke through in that contest, famously broke through with the song Waterloo. So maybe the record label had that in mind, maybe. But to my mind, there's so many small song contests now. I forget that there's these big pop song contests. And this was indeed a big deal. It took place at the Nippon Budokan, I think that's how you pronounce it, Nippon Budokan, in Tokyo, of course. Just for fun, let's take a look at the place. Oh wow, that's a very large venue. That's a large venue. I wonder if it looked like that back then. 1978. No, they don't have a picture of it in 1978, unfortunately. But this gives us an idea of what it looks like.
The rehearsals over and the microphone problem solved, it was time for the contest.
The 7th Tokyo Music Festival International Contest.
Oh wow, I love this.
Competitors from America, Japan, Britain, and other
I feel like
parts
I've
of the
been
world.
taken back in time.
Intense competition for a young British singer who'd never actually sung before a major audience before.
Is that true?
Mike Heatley, who came to Japan with Kate to represent the record company who handled her, was waiting nervously to see how she would do.
One of the obvious problems is, of course, that so far, as you say, Kate is not that well known here. We're hoping that, fingers crossed that the festival will bring off something.
But apparently it was her biggest audience to this day. 11,000 people were in the audience. It's huge. 35 million people, though, watched it on television. Apparently the first single to be released in Japan was Moving, and that's what she performed in this performance. We're going to take a look at that in a second. It was Moving, then Heavy People, and then finally The Man with the Child in His Eyes. And later, Japan would be the only country where Symphony in Blue was released as a single. Wow, I love that cover. It's so fun. I want to ride a dolphin. I don't know, who decides these things? Like what country is gonna like what song better? I don't know, it's weird. I mean, after all, Wuthering Heights wasn't released as a single, and yet it would become popular in Japan later on because it was the theme song to a television program apparently. And Kate Bush gained more notoriety because of that. But since Moving was the single, that's what she performed. She performed Moving, which I've actually never seen her perform that live yet, I don't think. So let's watch it together. So this is Kate Bush's performance at the contest. This is an exciting first moment.
Moving stranger, does it really matter?
Sorry about the sound quality and the picture quality. She sounds great. I love her dress. I totally would wear that. with this picture quality, she looks like a very beautiful squid in this dress. I think this was after the German television thing. She's so much more confident here. I mean, she might have been nervous still, but she seems so much more confident. And she has great vocal control here too. Oh, yay! It's so good! Oh, I love the movement in this. It was so beautiful, so beautifully done.
Kate did well, but not quite well enough. The contest was won by American singer Al Green.
Congratulations, Al Green.
Al Green.
But everyone with Kate seemed to think she should have been more than satisfied with the silver medal in what was, after all, her first pop contest.
The winner will receive 600,000 yen.
Okay, so 1978 tea there was gossip around the fact that actually Kate Bush knew that she wasn't going to win and knew that she was going to get silver ahead of time. Isn't that interesting? Allegedly, that's what they knew ahead of time. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's allegedly. That's what tea is, alleged.
Young lady, I am getting just a tad tired of your attitude problem.
And she did tie for second place with The Emotions, who I think they're best known for The Best of My Love, which I think I've heard before. But the prize did go to Al Green for a song called Belle.
Enterprise, think about it. Wonderful.
Got a nice tight groove, nice tight Al Green groove.
Leaving him has never ever crossed my mind. Let me say this one thing.
I like this chord change. Right?
Oh, you're what I want, but it's him I need. Let me say this one thing. I said, laughter of the sound is quiet.
Like this bass here too.
But I hear music in the air every time.
So these strings here are more akin to what they should have sounded like around this time. Remember when I taught that on Lionheart? Those were real synth strings. They were actually real strings. What song was that? Oh, Hammer Horror. This is what synth strings sounded like back then. Bridge. song. I like it. It's very laid back for a winning song, though. What do you guys think? I don't know how I feel about it. I like it, but does anybody talk about this song anymore? I really feel like I don't hear about this song, but then again, it's way before my time, so I don't know all the things that happen. I do like vintage things and vintage music and vintage stuff, but there's so many holes in my music knowledge. So maybe this is really very famous, but I haven't heard it. But let me know what you guys know about it. Other people who performed included Debbie Boone of You Light Up My Light fame. She sang a song called Heaven Knows.
I live and breathe you, God knows.
Johnny Holiday, who's a French singer. And I heard Blondie was there, but I couldn't find any pictures or any evidence of this fact. And I'm a huge Blondie fan. But I did find on YouTube around the same time in 1978, there is a Japanese television show that they were on. Very possible because the timing seems right. And even Diana Ross, she was a special guest singer there. Call her Miss Ross. Yeah. Yeah, she was a special guest singer there. And also the judges. The judges were pretty awesome too. Catherine Deneuve. Catherine Deneuve was a judge. I love Catherine Deneuve. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Why am I saying that so weird? Young Girls from Roquefort, which actually is on HBO now right now. I just watched it not too long ago. So if you want to watch it, it's a great movie. Belle de Jour. I saw that in the movie theater actually. Dancer in the Dark, Indochine. God, so many great movies that she was in. 8 Women, that was a really good one in her later career. I totally recommend that one. That has a great twist. So, love Catherine Deneuve, basically. So this was a big deal. This was a lot of effort, a lot of famous people.
The Japanese audience certainly seemed to enjoy Kate's act, but that was in the atmosphere of the concert hall. What would the rest of the record-buying public think of her very original style? That was a question I put to a leading Japanese disc jockey who was at the pop contest.
Yes, tonight it's televised all over Japan, so this is her big moment because everyone could see her rather than just listen to her, see? And her movement is really unique, and her looks is very good because we're not very big people, and Kate Bush is also not very big.
Interesting.
And she's very pretty.
It's interesting how in different cultures, different things are prized differently. Of course, looks are important in other places, like whether they're tall or short, maybe not be as big of a deal. Also, I remember a long time ago, God, I don't remember what I was watching, but it was something with, what was her name? Olivia from The Hills. I was on The Hills, or one of those types of shows. She had come to Japan, and there were all these Japanese people were coming up to her and saying how small her face was. And it was so funny, because she was like tripped out, like that really weirded her out that they were saying that. But, you know, there's different beauty standards and different things depending on what country you're in and everything.
What sort of reaction do you think you've got from the Japanese? Because you have been talking to them, haven't you?
Yes. I must admit, I think it's a little hard to tell because they're very different people from us, and I'm not sure if they actually say what they feel. But the reactions I have been getting are really nice. Very good.
Kate Bush, and that's all today from the three of us, so bye for now.
So, I've heard that those comments, according to this podcast that I listened to, and also a couple articles that I had read, I'll have them linked down below. Apparently the comments that she made right there were not taken very well and caused a little bit of a stir. People didn't know how to take that. Japanese people didn't say what they mean. Maybe she was scolded by her record label, I don't know. But I think evidence of this is that just a few days later, she would say the direct opposite of this. A few days later, she would be interviewed by Music Life magazine, Basically, the interview started off by making a comment about how Japanese people couldn't really see Kate doing normal things like going to the grocery store. And Kate Bush said, yeah, I've heard this because of the image that had been put forth in the country of her as this kind of fairy goddess. She had said that she's just an ordinary girl. She takes the subway to record company meetings, or to go shopping, or to hang out with friends at a pub. She said that I find that Japan is a magnificent country filled with kindness and compassion. No country could be as polite as Japan. To my mind, Japanese people tend to express their feelings directly. And she does go on about how Japanese people are as fans. But I do think it's interesting that just a few days later, after there was kind of a minor brouhaha, but there was a minor brouhaha about her comments, that she says the direct opposite of what she had said a few days earlier. And I think that this actually wore on her psyche a little bit. Maybe she felt bad about it. And I do wonder if it really affected her. That night, apparently, there was a whole lot of partying, a lot of champagne being passed around, and she did party with her record, the people from the record company. And they partied till 3 a.m., according to the itinerary. But it's interesting that she partied with them because of the comments that we talked about earlier. I wonder if anything was said then or if that didn't come till later. I don't know, but interesting, huh? Thank you for watching part 1 of Kate Bush's adventure in Japan. So much more is gonna happen coming up. We have the variety show. We have some interesting performances. We have the Seiko watch ad that started this whole deep dive rabbit hole thing that I went through to get here. I've worked really hard on getting it together. So make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see part 2. And of course, sharing the video is so important. I really want to grow my channel. It's a big dream for me, so help a girl out. Help a girl make her dream come true. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, that your life is a wonderful, beautiful musical, and I hope that I get to see you next time. Popcorn Philosopher, over and out.